one of the basic things is that if you say, hey, come over for dinner, it's not the same thing.
Right.
The Deipnon wasn't just a word for supper. It had
it's a banquet.
People. Oh, it was something. It was like a special event, right? It's a special event dinner. But it's one word.
Not only that, but there's all these writings in the ancient world prior to the first century that talk about, what happens if a person is sat in the wrong place. People are sat according to the host's what he believes is the guest list of honor. And this is very interesting when we start looking at the Last Supper and the fact that the apostles are arguing over who's sitting where, right?
Yeah, and Yeshua flips it upside down.
Right. And so anyway, the point is that the wine was always mixed with water, except for one cup. There was a cup that was not mixed with water. Okay, so this is one of the reasons that people weren't just getting tossed like they do today, is because
knockered. I don't know.
Schnockered because
ask Ben what the
kids are saying today. Anyway, the people were mixing their wine. All right. People were mixing their wine with water, and here's the thing: is that there was a cup of wine that was poured and then dedicated to a deity in between. So there was different parts of the Deipnon, but there was the meal proper. In between the meal proper and the philosophical portion of the meal, which is where someone would give a speech. We see this in John, by the way, in John's gospel. Yeshua gives a speech and talks from 13 all the way through 17, right? Chapters 13 through 17. He's giving this speech at the Last Supper. And in between this portion, the meal proper and this second portion of the Deipnon, a cup of wine was poured, and it was dedicated to a deity. Okay, now I believe this is extremely important because in Luke's gospel, they pour the glass of wine, and then it was shared with everyone. Okay, so everyone took part in this cup to the God of the meal. At the end of the Last Supper, what happens? Yeshua pours the glass of wine, and he says, and he shares it with the apostles, and he says, "Do this in remembrance of me." Now, this whole phrase is just packed full of theological significance. We are to do the Passover. That is the Passover. It's referred to in Exodus as "this shall be a memorial throughout your generations." So to do this is a direct reference to the Passover itself. Do this in remembrance of not Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, not some god, some foreign god elsewhere, but do this in remembrance of me. The fact that Yeshua is using wine here and that it is placed where it is, and that he says, "Do this in remembrance of me," is in and of itself a declaration of deity. He is calling himself Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. If people want to now shift this and say, well, Yeshua wasn't using wine. Well, if that's the case, if he was using Welch's grape juice, let's say, it's no longer a Deipnon. It's no longer the traditional Deipnon that the ancients are using. And no longer is this ceremonial cup of wine being used, which means this declaration of deity now is not only diminished, but it's taken away. So
additional, I mean, just the fact that they're drinking, let's say it's we don't know, is it grape juice or wine during Pesach? Well, when were the grapes harvested? Last summer. So that means you either have to have refrigeration of grapes through like you have to wait to store grapes and then squeeze them fresh for the Pesach, or they do what we know traditionally to be done. They're harvested and they're pressed in the same, but they don't put grapes, they don't harvest a bunch of grapes and then store them for like months before they're going to press them. No, it's like, okay, there's an optimal, especially now I'm not a wine connoisseur, but there is an optimal, they weren't just making crap wine. Sorry. Clap. He said clap. No, I mean, this was an art form, right?
They didn't put it in wineskins. They put it in boxes. So they were drinking some box wine, right? Come on.
Okay, so the idea is that we need to recognize that the wine, whatever juice of grapes that they were enjoying, and that was part of the Passover meal, we have to think, well, where did it come from? Well, it was wine that had been fermenting throughout the winter.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Tell us your thoughts on this subject by leaving a comment in the comment section. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and enable those notifications. And we'll see you in the next video.